I could do a video on Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley and take a look at the old guard versus the new guard, but instead, I want to take a look at their number 2s. Yes, yes, insert joke here.
You gotta look out for number 1, but don't step at number 2.
But obviously, I am talking about Chris Dailey, or CD, and Lisa Boyer, both assistant coaches with UConn and the South Carolina Gamecocks, respectively. And yes, I know that UConn and South Carolina are much like the Hatfields and McCoys, so I have put a chapter in this video on where the part of Lisa Boyer starts in case you're a South Carolina fan and the thought of hearing about CD and how great she is sickens you potentially. You can just skip ahead, but I suggest you watch both parts of this video because I think the similarities between the two programs and their assistant coaches and the role they play is very apparent and has played a large part in why both of these programs have been so dominant, which over the last 10 years has included UConn going to 9 Final Fours and winning 4 titles, and South Carolina going to 6 Final Fours and getting 3 titles. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like. All right, let's get into this. Most of the descriptions between Chris Dailey and Gino Auriemma tend to paint the picture that they're a bit of chalk and cheese or yin and yang, and that's why the partnership of them being the coaches at UConn since 1985 has worked so well. In most of the interviews that Gino Auriemma does, he usually niggles people with a bit of a joke, and then he gets down to brass tacks and says why they're so good. And Chris Dailey is no different. So when talking about her, he niggles her about how when they were doing a doco on her, they had a camera crew follow her around, and he's making fun of her for making the camera crew get up so early. You go work out because you think that 14, 15, 30 million people are going to watch SNY and go, ooh, Chris Dailey works out 5 o'clock every morning. Whoopie freaking do. Really, Chris? So we all had an issue with that in the office. We let her know about it yesterday. That's Gino Auriemma to a T. But after the jokes, it was revealing when they retired or put Chris Dailey on the Wall of Honor when he spoke about her and what she has meant to the program.
Putting her up on that wall kind of puts her next to, not above and not under, but next to all the people that wouldn't be on that wall if it wasn't for her. So I think it's very appropriate. You know, every one of those players that are up there, a pretty good chance they would tell you that they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for a bunch of stuff that CD did.
Now, Chris Dailey played basketball at Rutgers and was an assistant at Rutgers as well when Gino Auriemma was an assistant at Virginia. And when he landed the job at UConn in '85, he knew that he wanted Chris Dailey to be on his staff, as he'd gotten to meet her when they were both assistant coaches. And he gave this quote, "I knew very, 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 very early before we even played our first game, or before I got the job, that if she would agree to come here and coach with me and with us, that we could be good." Now, CD, for her part, says that Auriemma challenged her to come to UConn to grow up and stop being a baby, basically. It's interesting in this interview.
I came to Connecticut because you challenged me. I was working at Rutgers. I had played there. I had coached there. And you challenged me to see, you know, you've done that already as a player and a coach. Let's see what we can build at Connecticut. And I felt, in terms of professionally, that would help me down the road when I got my own program, that I would know more, I would know how to do it right from the ground level, and that I'd be able to be better prepared.
I think it was something like, don't be a big baby the rest of your life, and staying home.
Well, and the fact that my father said, if he's not nice to you, you can come home anytime you want, I think that was helpful.
I said, grow up.
It almost happened the first summer because he was annoying during camp, and if I could have packed all my stuff that one night and gone home, I would have. I
tried my hardest to make her go home.
Work, huh?
Now, in terms of coaching, one of the things CD says is that the reason they work so well together is that they balance each other. She goes on to explain if one coach is on a kid, then the other one is sort of building them up to a certain degree.
The one thing that he and I have always done, and that's probably why we can work together so long, is we balanced each other. If he's on a player, I'm not. If I'm on someone, he's not. I think you have to balance that. We never want to have a kid leave practice feeling like everybody was on me today.
Now, oftentimes the assistant coach or head assistant coach is the good guy that the players are able to get along with, and it's a shoulder to cry on when they're complaining about the head coach and how mean they are. It's clearly not the case at UConn. Like they said earlier, they balance, but Gino did this interview where he sort of outlined what she brings to the program.
Her consistency. You know what you're going to get every single day. There are absolutely no surprises. No, you know exactly what to expect, and the players know exactly where she's coming from. There's never any doubt that she has the best interests of the players at heart. She's very detail oriented, very thorough, very persistent. She's organized, and she kind of has a even keel demeanor. She's not going to be volatile like this, like I am sometimes. So there's a lot of stability that you're going to get. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of little things that only CD can do that kind of irritate the players.
Brianna Stewart, you better change your body language right now.
I get a kick out of it, but sometimes they don't. And but in the end, the one thing they do know is that every morning she wakes up and every night she goes to bed and she only has one thing in mind, and that's the welfare and the success of our players and our team, and they know that, and I think that's rare in today's world.
The last few things I'll say on Chris Dailey is, one, a lot of the culture things are there. Like, she's the one that enforces some of the rules, like no nail polish. And Sue Bird talks about pantyhose and how they were forced to wear that, which is very old school, but it does go a long way to saying, hey, this is our standard here. This is what you have to adhere to. And from all accounts, UConn is up front with that with recruits when they get there. And if you're going to UConn, that's the deal, that you're going there to be developed as the best basketball player that you can be, and there's an expectation. And then because they're so successful, I think that led into a lot of reasons why she has stayed.
Why are you still at Connecticut after all these years?
Well, I think that I've learned that being happy is really important, and I feel like I'm in a place where women's basketball is really important. I feel like I'm respected. I feel like I'm challenged. I feel like I've been given opportunities and ownership over the program that not everybody has in their job. And I think it's easy to think it's always better somewhere else, but I really enjoy what I do. And I think that I've been able to have an impact on young women through their college years and afterwards, and I feel blessed that I've had that.
And it's worked both for UConn and Gino Auriemma and for her, as she's been able to coach talented players and have an impact on women coming through the UConn program.
CD, when you're in college, she comes across a little bit as a nag, but all she's really doing is teaching you how to be an adult. And I know now the woman that I am today and how I carry myself, how I conduct myself both on and off the court is a direct relation to what she taught me in college. And it's just, I don't know, there's so much about how I act that has a lot to do with what she taught me. And it's just the way she carries herself. She is truly the heart and soul of that program.
Now let's talk about Lisa Boyer with the Gamecocks. As I mentioned, I think it's similar to Chris Dailey and Gino Auriemma in terms of they do a great job of balancing each other.
Top three. Six of what? She said top three. I know. Top three. Okay. Top three.
As Boyer outlines that she worries oftentimes, and it's Dawn Staley that sort of counterbalances that and says, no, we've got this, we've always figured it out, don't worry about it. And that mesh really helps them.
I'm the worrier on the team, or on the staff. I'm always, she's like, Boyer, whatever happens, we'll deal with it. It comes our way for a reason, and we're going to be able to handle it. And, she's been right. I mean, it's true. We're going to handle whatever comes our way.
Now, Boyer coached Staley for a year in the old ABL when Staley was playing for the Philadelphia Rage. And then when Staley finally agreed to take the job at Temple, She went to Boyer asking her to come and give her help, and Boyer was not receptive to that, saying, she asked me to come and I just gotten a job. I was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I didn't have any desire to go back to college basketball, Boyer said. And Boyer goes on to say that Dailey finally wore her down and she agreed to take the job. And then from there, most reports go on to describe them as an old couple, if you like they're constantly bickering and arguing.
Coach Boyer, oh God. Coach Boyer and I are like a married couple.
I don't know, sometimes they're like an old married couple, but a successful one. You can be the best of friends, and then sometimes you're just like bickering back and forth. But when they bicker, it's just so funny.
It's too on Kayla. Get her out. You need to chill, okay? You need to chill, okay?
But ultimately, they have the same vision and get along on the big issues.
To have that opportunity that I had to coach her, but now when I coach with her, you know, we're basically on the same page when it comes to the, you know, the X's and O's. At the same time, too, you know, we disagree, and we can have some knockdown dragouts, and, you know, an hour later, it's forgotten.
In one of the articles I read on Boyer is clear that she and Dailey were always had the vision they wanted to win a championship, and that was one of the reasons they moved from Temple to South Carolina. And it was a tough rebuild at the start. Like, they were only getting 500 fans to the games, and they were taking their losses. And Boyer talks about how in the second and third year she talked to Dailey about changing her approach. She says, by the second or third year, I said, Dawn, we got to find another way. All they're hearing is the noise. They're not hearing what you're saying to them. And Boyer felt that Dailey changed her approach and started to develop better bonds with the players that really helped her improve as a coach over time. As she said, you want to inspire them to work hard, to get them to set goals in a different way. I think you have to communicate differently. Dawn's always been intense, but now she's got a relationship with them.
When I was in school, she was tough-nosed. Couldn't get away with anything. She was pretty hard on us, but I think it helped us in the long run. It made us better players on the court. It made us better people. These days, just watching her coach her teams now, we're like, man, coach, you're so soft on them. You make it so easy for them. But, I mean, hey, whatever she's doing is working because they're able to win national championship.
My relationship with coach is probably the best in the game. I normally say we're kind of like Tim Duncan and Coach Pop. It's something so special that I wish I could put into words, but it's just really like a mom and daughter type relationship rather than coach and player, and that really helps me play.
My relationship with Coach Dailey has definitely grown since when I first got to campus. I was kind of scared to talk to her in my freshman year just because I was such a fan of hers growing up. I didn't realize how personable she was and how down to earth and how easy it was to actually talk to her. But once I figured that out, my relationship with her definitely developed. She became more of like a second mother to me, being able to come to her about literally anything, talk to her. She gave it to me straight, even when I didn't want to hear the things she was talking about. I definitely valued her information that came from her.
And from year 4 onwards, so basically around 2011-12, the program has just taken off as they made their first Sweet 16, and the program just got better and better, obviously, over the years, which resulted in their first national championship in the 2016-17 season. And much how Chris Dailey has been a driving force in UConn's success over the years, I think it's quite clear that Lisa Boyer has helped Gamecock's success over the tenure of Dawn Dailey.
She's one of my best friends. And we talk basketball, we talk life. And I know that, you know, if I want a straight answer, whether she agrees with me or not, she's gonna give me a straight answer. She's been, you know, the ultimate sacrificer, you know, for her to help me in my career. Is quite, you know, admirable.
Now it's over to you for your comments, Poison. All comments and Poison are welcome. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great night.